Hi, it's Nick Shell, the internet receding hairline guy. And yeah, you guessed it, it's another windy day out there, so we're going to do another one of these in the car. Here's what I want to address today. I think it's the #2 video on my channel. It says how to know if you have a receding hairline. Now, I'm seeing some comments come in from teenage boys like 15, 16, 17 saying, "Oh no, I'm losing my hair because I've got these baby hairs and I do see where my hairline's going up. That means I'm going bald. I'll be bald by the time I'm 20. So I've seen those notes on there. And I've also seen people who disagree with my assessment. They say just because you have baby hairs right here at your headline, it doesn't mean that you're losing your hair. So I want to address those actually in a very positive way. Here's what my personal experience has taught me. We'll go back to that story that I mentioned in that video. Again, how to tell if you've got a receding hairline, which I think is the #2 video. So if you go to the main channel for me, you should be able to see that if you need to watch that. So you know the story. Back in the year 2000, I was 19. I told the lady who cuts my hair, "Hey, how much longer do I have?" And she said, "Well, you got to about the time you're 35 years old." Well, next week I'll be turning 35. And you can see, sure, I have a receding hairline. It's not that bad. But I mean, I've got most of my hair. So fortunately, she was wrong. Oh, she was right. But I was expecting to be bald by now. I really was. So that's a pleasant surprise for my 35th birthday. Of course, if that wasn't the case, like I remind everyone, if you don't have hair on the top, shave it down to a #1, #2, whatever you want to do, and embrace it. And women find you more attractive, actually, if you're bald. That's what all the surveys show. So I could embrace that if that was my reality. But since it's not, I'm just kind of experiment, see what I can do with the receding hairline. But I want to go back to the fact that the lady that cut my hair was right when she said, yes, your hairline is starting to recede. Now, remember, she told me that when I was 19 years old. So my hairline was a little bit more, closer down like that. But I saw the peaks back when I was 19. That was the first time I ever saw it. And there were baby hairs on there. So basically, here's what I'm getting at. If you are, say, a teenager, say you are 17 years old and you're thinking, oh man, I've got a receding hairline. Here's something to keep in mind. Okay, so maybe you won't end up like Anthony Bourdain and be 59 years old and have a full head of hair. Most of us won't, and I always remind all the guys that. Most of us won't grow old with a lot of hair. Most of us will lose our hair. But the thing about it is, just because you've got a receding hairline, to some degree, or even, let me say this, just because you see the first signs of a receding hairline, is nothing to freak out about. It's nothing to worry about, to think, oh no, well, I'll be bald by the time I'm 23 or 25 or definitely 30. I know it could be easy to think that because I was thinking it when I was 19. Obviously, why do you think I asked the lady that cut my hair about it? Well, imagine this. Imagine if 19, my hairline was starting to show the first signs of receding. I've still made it this many years. That was 16 years ago, and look at me. I mean, I've got most of my hair. It's not a distraction. People don't look at me and the first thing they think is, oh yeah, he's losing his hair. That's not what they think. And so it hasn't really receded that much in 16 years. So it's kind of like this. That saying, when someone says, I was dying since the day I was born, if you've ever heard that, it's kind of like that. Your hairline's the same way. Your hairline basically starts receding by the time you reach adulthood. So maybe that for you, that's age 16 or 18 or 20, whatever it is. But it's not a death sentence to your hair, because ultimately you're going to lose your hair probably anyway at some point. You may be 60 or 70 or 80, but at some point it's likely you're going to lose your hair. So just think this. If your hairline's starting to recede, just don't freak out about it, because there's no guarantee that you're just going to automatically lose your hair right after that. You can last a lot longer than that. And I'm saying this again from personal experience. Look at me, okay? 16 years ago, she said, you'll probably make it to you're about 35 years old before you really start losing most of your hair. Okay? She was right, but here I am at 35 and I still have most of my hair. It's not a major balding situation. So that was right for me. So let's say you are 16. Well, there's a good chance you'll be at least 30 before you see any major signs, and that's kind of how I was. So if you can make it to your 30, then you're lucky as far as that goes. But by then, you'll be probably more, if you keep watching my videos, hopefully, you'll be more keen to realize that even as you do lose your hair, it's really not that big of a deal as long as you know what to do with it. And that's how to cut your hair. So that's why I have those videos about shaving shaving your head at different guards. So remember, just because you're starting to show signs of a receding hairline, it doesn't mean that you're about to lose all your hair. You could last many more years. Look at me. I'm 35 next week, and I first noticed when I was 19, not when I was 30. I noticed some thinning up here when I was 30, but receding hairline I noticed when I was 19. So I hope you receive this as a message of hope, because that's how I intend it to be. I don't want you to think too much into this just because you see your hairline going up and seeing some shorter hairs right there. Sure, that's a sign of receding hairline. According to me, people disagree with me. I know I've got people who say I'm wrong about that. But for me, it's been true. Car accident? What's going on over there? Somebody needs to get their brakes taken care of. This is Nick Shell, the internet receding hairline guy.